Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Roadies and Rebels podcast. My name is Greg McVeigh. It's a rare rainy day here in Palm Springs. My guest on this episode is Sully Sullivan, kind of a renowned front of house sound mixer. And it was funny, he sent me a text recently saying, "I'd like to be on your podcast." And I went, "You're in, my friend." So that was a kick, and we tried to make the arrangements. He had to, let me get this straight, had a doctor's appointment, go to the grocery store. Then he had to get ready to go to Mexico City with Jerry Cantrell, which I think he's there now. Then he had to go to LA to rehearse with Beck for a show in Vegas. I think I have that right. Anyway, we squeezed him in, and I think you'll enjoy the episode. As always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and also these podcasts are available on all your audio-only streaming platforms. So, Jasper, let's hit it.
Gossip for some is a real event. They strap on and button up their Sunday best. Stand straight and smile and do all the rest. Don't laugh, she family is ridiculous. Lying a bullshit. It came to rest and said, oh, somehow I got fast. Yeah, I'm a little embarrassed.
Here we go, Sully. Welcome to the Roadies and Rebels podcast, man. I'm so glad to have you here.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks for asking me to do this.
Oh, it's so
Or
cool.
did I ask you?
You asked me, which is nobody asks me. It was like the honor of my life. A guy like you, I mean, sure, my brother wants to be on it, but you know, when you sent me that text, I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is cool. So we're recording this.
Well, I figure we got to get it going, right? Got to
That's
start
right.
it up.
Got to start it up. And man, it's just so cool you're doing this. So today's November 11th, and I think you're headed to Mexico City soon. Is that right?
Saturday morning. Yeah, I'm flying there.
What's going on there, if you can talk about it?
It's the big festival they have down there called Corona Capital, and I'm mixing an artist named Jerry Cantrell from Alice in Chains.
Of course. Right. That'll be good. He's great, actually. I like him.
Yeah, I've done Alice in Chains, but I've never done Jerry, so it'll be a first for me. Mm-hmm. And a throw and go gig, so it'll be fun. Lots of pressure and
throw
good
and go
time.
in Mexico. That's got to be. I mean,
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Yeah.
What do you take with you?
I have my USB keys that have my licenses for my authorizations for plugins and stuff. I got them to send me a recording from the last guy who did the gig.
Right.
And I called my favorite sound company, 8 Day Sound, Claire Brothers, and they're in Cleveland here. So I go sit behind a desk because I've got the spec from Corona Capital. It's a Avid S6L, which is what I normally use, and a Wave server. Pretty simple, not like my normal elaborate hybrid rig, but. And so I get the recording and I go sit at the 8 Day shop with some near field speakers, and I worked on it for 2 days. I did my own rehearsal for 2 days. Wow. And then I show up, I put the USB key in the desk, and we go.
So there's no rehearsal or anything for this, for you?
No, just what I did on my own.
Yeah. How long would a set be?
How long what?
How long would his set be on a festival kind of thing? Jerry's.
Oh, I'm 30, 40, 45. I don't know. I'm not sure what they're doing. I haven't got those I know he's not headlining, so I would imagine it's probably a 30, 45 minute set, something like that at the most.
Yeah. Well, you'll knock it out of the park. And then you're doing something else, right? You're going out with Beck?
I just have a one-off with Beck in Las Vegas in the beginning of December, so I'm going to go to... Now, that's a little different because it's... I'm pretty sure it's different musicians, and it's different from the last time I did it, so we are going to rehearse for a day.
Right.
I'll have a tech day at the Claire shop in L.A., and then we'll go to center stage and load in and do tech day, and then the band for one day, and then go do the show, and we're done.
So what else have you done this year? You ended up being very, very busy, right?
Yeah, I started early in like March with Alice in Chains. We rehearsed for a little bit in L.A., went to the first show, and then Sean Kinney had some health problems, so we had to shut the tour down.
I read about that.
So
yeah.
And that tour was pretty short. It was just a month anyways. Mm-hmm. And then I was scheduled to do Avenged Sevenfold right when that ended. Okay. And so I went home for a bit. Alice in Chains are amazing. They paid us for the time that we were supposed to be out, and took good care of us. Those guys are amazing human beings. Every one of them are really cool.
That's great.
And then I went back to LA and did Avenged Sevenfold rehearsals for 2 days. Flew to Europe and did a month of shows with them in Europe. I went home for maybe 2 weeks. Flew to the UK to start Smashing Pumpkins. We did prep in the UK, but the first show was in Bulgaria. So we did a month in Europe with the Pumpkins. I went home for 2 weeks. Then we flew to Japan, and then we did 5.5 weeks in Southeast Asia, Japan and Singapore and Philippines, South Korea, Indonesia, Bahrain, Abu Dhabi, like just insane, like 5.5 weeks in 1 day off.
Wow. Man, I don't know how you guys do it. I get jet lag flying Palm Springs to Oakland. I just, I commented on that. But
Isn't that the same time zone?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I couldn't handle what
I guess
you
you
do.
just get used to it, right?
Guess
we've been doing it forever. And you know what? I'll tell you this, like when we got to Japan this time, it was not easy. Like I struggled at 4:00 every day. I was ready to go to bed, which is like 1 a.m. and where I left from home, right?
Yeah.
It's tough, you just deal with it. You got to the best part is you have stuff to do and you got to get to work, and you can't just go, when you get there and you have a day to like kind of recover, you sleep all day and then you're up all night.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of screwing yourself. Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, this time in Japan, it was a week into it before I really was like, okay, I'm going to sleep through the night now.
Yeah. I got my footing
Just
here.
deal with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sucks. You deal with it.
Man, yeah. Well, that's what makes you the pro. So give me the sort of Reader's Digest of your background, how you got into this. Did you play an instrument?
I started young. Yeah, I started really young with older brothers. I'm the third of 4 boys, Irish kids born in Cleveland.
There you go.
My dad was fireman, lieutenant, fire department, and loved his job, but hated what he did because it was, you could die. It's tough, backbreaking work. He loved it because it was an amazing city job with great pay and benefits and blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
But it was tough, backbreaking work. Imagine spraying water on a house all night long in the wintertime, and soaked, and it was just tough. So my dad was very vocal about, we all thought we were going to grow up to be firemen because my family's the longest line of Irish firemen. And my dad was very vocal about like, you don't have to do that. Just find something cool to do and don't go to work, if you enjoy what you do and you have a great job that you love, it's not work, you go and enjoy yourself and get paid for it.
Well, good for
him.
him.
And as a young,
it's kind of rare.
Yeah, my dad was cool about that.
Yeah.
And as a young musician who was not very good at anything that I did, the best musician in our family was my brother Jeff, who plays drums and still this day in many rock and roll bands. And he was, pushing me to do sound because every time we'd go somewhere, the sound guy would be the one walking away with all the money, and I was always talking about that. The band would be splitting up $100, dragging all this crap around in our mom's station wagon, and the sound guy would leave with his backpack and $100, And I was, because I wasn't really in his bands as a young kid, I was always hanging out with that guy, and I took it serious really young at 14, 15, 16 years old. I took it really serious. My dad saw me start making money with his band, with my brother's bands, and there was an oldies band in town called the Class 57 that did like 4 and 5 nights a week in the summertime and 2-3 nights a week in wintertime. They were looking for, their ad said truck driver / sound guy wanted.
There you go.
And my brother was like, you need to call them. I'm like, I'm not a truck driver. He's like, dude, what kind of truck could they have? So anyways, I call them, I get the gig,
What kind of truck
and I end up
do they
working
have?
for this oldies band. Like they had the bobtail. They had like an ex U-Haul bobtail, like a 24-footer.
But that's
with
like a
lights
brother
and
thing.
sound and backline.
That's like something your brother would say. What kind of truck? Well, that's not the point.
Yeah, well, that wouldn't matter. You can't have they're not going to have a semi. They're a local band, right?
Doesn't
what are you
matter.
worried about? And I went and worked for them, and I was the lighting guy. I was the sound guy. I was the backline. I did everything for that band from front of house. I had a little spotlight, saxophone solo, and bump some lights
Move
over
it,
on the
yeah.
lighting console, and then push fade. I did everything for that band for all through my, senior year of high school, and then for like maybe a year out of high school, I worked for that band, and I got some chops doing it because we were busy and we were thrown into the fire, and like I would say between car shows, local bars, the rotunda down at the Circle in the little city
I can relate.
for a car show, anything, right?
That's what I grew up on.
Weddings, these
Yeah.
guys did it all.
Yep.
And I got very skilled doing that for every day of the week. It's like playing golf, right? You play golf every day of the week, you get good at it.
You get better and better. Sure.
And I not to pat myself on the back, but I got successful doing it. I had good shows and no feedback, and it was basic, but because of that, I started making lots of money, and I started buying equipment. I started buying PA, and a year out of high school, and now I'm a sound company.
Wow.
And I got bands wanting me to do their shows when I'm not doing the oldies band.
Right.
And
Interesting.
so I went to the oldies band. I asked for more money because I bought all this equipment and all this stuff. And the owner, this guy named Bruce Lyle, Lefty, we called him, was an amazing guy, like really cool guy. He was not interested. He was like, well, I didn't ask you, so put my stuff back in the truck and let's go back to doing it our way. And why should I pay extra for something I didn't ask you to do? And I was like, okay, good point, right? Well, next weekend we opened up for Chubby Checker at like this amusement park that was like on the border of Pennsylvania and Ohio. And Chubby Checker's front of house guy didn't show up. And so the stage manager put us up. Chubby's production manager heard me mix my band, and he was like, hey, you want to mix Chubby? $100 bill. I did a gig, and 8 Day Sound was the vendor on that gig. I did local stuff with my own gear. 8 Day was a touring company. I didn't know anything about them. But because I was now disgruntled that they weren't going to pay me anymore and didn't want to use my gear, I was like, well, F them. I'm going to work at 8 Day Sound. And my girlfriend at the time, her mom happened to be installing hardwood floors in Tom Arco, the owner of 8 Day Sound's house he was building.
Interesting.
Back to Tom, yeah. And she goes, and I come home from this gig, this Chubby Checker gig, and I'm telling her I'm going to go work at 8 Day. I'm a badass now. I'm going to go work at 8 Day. And she's like, how you going to do that? I go, I don't know. And she got me an interview. And I'm pretty sure Tom Marco told the guy who interviewed me just to blow me off because he was like, you got a CDL? Can you drive a truck? And I go, no. He goes, okay, well, call me when you can.
Yeah.
And blew me off. But because I was there, he goes, well, let me show you the shop while you're here. Took me in the back, and the Chubby Checker crew was in there putting the trunk cables away and
they were
cleaning it up from the gig. And they were all like, oh, hey, Sully, what's up? And so they vouched for me. Like when I walked out of there that day, they all vouched for me because he must have went back in there and said, you guys know that kid? And they vouched for me. And I'm driving home from that interview that I just got denied at. And he says, hey, can you go to Columbus for me this weekend and mix the Neville brothers?
Oh, man.
And I was like, I sure can. And I got a rental car 2 days later. And I went to Columbus and I mixed the Neville brothers for this, it's called a Cherry Blossom Festival in Columbus, Ohio. Sure. They were like the headliner and, they didn't have a guy. So they asked the sound company, can you provide us someone that can mix?
Right.
And I started at 8 Day that weekend. And I was a shop guy and I, swept the floor and I cleaned cables up and I started getting local gigs. And then they sent me on my first tour as a PA tech with Jethro Tull. Wow. And just anytime anybody needed a mixer for opening acts, anything, monitors, front of house, didn't matter. I'd be the first one to go, I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Put my hand up.
You bet.
I'll do it. And I didn't say how much you're going to pay me. I didn't any of that. I just said, I'll do it.
Yep.
I never asked for money, anything.
And those guys
and they started asking me for my phone number. Yeah. Those people were like, well, this kid knows what he's doing.
We can
and
count
he's
on
cool.
this
Didn't
guy.
ask for any money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I started getting people asking me for my number. I started doing bigger and bigger gigs. Now, meanwhile, I'm still working at 8 Day. I'm still on their tours as flying PA. And now I'm a crew chief, system engineer for 8 Day. Mm-hmm. But I'm also mixing front of house for Boys to Men. Wow. And working for them.
You were moving up.
And it just blew up. I just did a good job and it blew up and people kept calling me. And I got in with, like still to this day, you get in with a production manager who likes you, who sees you're good. And he'll put you on every gig he has if he has the opportunity to, right?
Yeah, because they know they can count on you. It's kind of
tour
flows
manager named
down,
Alan Thompson.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this tour manager named Alan Thompson and the production manager Huggy. I don't know if you know. Everybody knows Huggy.
Yeah, I know Huggy.
I got in early with those guys. I was doing monitors for Patti LaBelle. I got in early young with those guys, and they just took me on every gig that they had.
Yeah.
And it blew up. And I did a lot of backbreaking, tough touring work as the system engineer and the front of house guy.
Right.
For years, for 8 Day. For about 8 years, I did that. And then Bill Ramey comes along and says, I teched for him. He's mixing Bob Mold's Husker Du or Sugar, one of Bob Mold's bands. I can't remember. Right. And Ramey tells me, he says, hey, I'm front of house guy, but I'm really just the production manager. And I come pretend like I'm the front of house guy. So
sounds like him.
So the reason you're here is because I made sure 8 Day sent me someone that knew what they were doing. So just do this like it's your gig, and then I'll come push faders.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. And Ramey steps up to the console for the first night, and he's jaws on the floor. He's like, "What the flip is going on here?" I'm like, "What? Something wrong? Like, did I do something wrong?" And he's like, "We'll talk later." Right? This the show ends, and he's like, "What are you doing teching PA? Like, what's going on here?" I go, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Why aren't you mixing bands?" I go, "Well, I do." He's like, "But you don't if you're doing teching for me right now."
Right.
And meanwhile, ML Prosize had been courting me, trying to get me to quit 8th Day and come work for Shoko.
Shoko, right.
Because I was doing Boys to Men. I was doing bigger gigs, and so I got on ML's radar. Well, Bill Ramey goes, "Well, I'm going to introduce you to ML Prosize." And I go, "Well, I know ML." He's like, "Well, I'm going to make sure you and ML become friends." And I quit working for 8th Day, and I went freelance, and ML just started throwing me everything. And I got big gig after big gig after big gig because they could trust me, and they knew I would go handle it. Mm-hmm. And it just blew up, Man. And here I am 30 years later doing what I do.
On my podcast.
That wasn't really the Reader's Digest version, but
no, it's great.
You could trim it. You could trim the fat.
It's tough to do with someone like you. I mean, you got such a great reputation. I think you and I first met. Well, we didn't meet. Did you mix ZZ Top for a while?
I did.
Yeah, because I think you and Bob Heil had gotten close, become great friends, and I was just starting to work.
Yeah, in 2007.
Yeah,
I think it was 2006 or 7. Toby Francis asked me if I'd go do some ZZ Top because he was doing it at the time, and he was busy like he always is. And I went and covered ZZ Top for almost a year, and there was a lot of Heil microphones. My first experience with him, and I like most people, I was like, "What's wrong with this guy? What's he using dynamic microphones for all those things that we would normally use condensers, right?"
Yeah.
And then I remember Toby distinctly saying, "Don't be a hero out there. Just go make the gig what it is because everybody's happy with how it's going." And I was like, "Okay, cool. You got me the gig." And I unmuted the stuff for the first time and was, jaw on the floor, like, "Wow, these work really well for on something you wouldn't think they would." And so Bob and I became good friends, and then you and I met through Bob.
Yeah, because I remember he said, "Greg, go up to Fresno. ZZ Top is playing, and this guy Sully, who I really like, you need to meet him." So I drove up to Fresno, and by the time I got there, you probably don't remember this, but you were deep in it, and you texted me and said there's a ticket, and I don't think we ever actually met, but as I was leaving, and I'll probably edit this out too, but I'll never forget ZZ Top, Sully, Fresno. It may have been at a college, and I had just gotten out of rehab, just if truth be told. So I was feeling like it was great, sort of my first sojourn. And as I'm leaving the area, there's this DUI checkpoint, and it's backed up for miles. And I'm like, I'm ready for it. I'm ready. I want them to stop.
You're like, I'm sober. Who cares? I'm good.
Bring it, So I'm waiting in this line of cars for what seemed like an hour. I finally get to the checkpoint thing, and the guy waves me through. I was like,
"No, wow."
I was so disappointed.
He's like, "This guy's got nothing to do with this crowd. Let him out of here.
He doesn't belong here. Let's just let him go." Right. So that's what I remember about ZZ Top in Fresno. I was incensed.
Did we meet that night, or we didn't? You just went and sat in a seat, and
I went and sat in the seat.
That
was it. And it was kind of chaotic, as I recall, and I didn't want to bother anybody, but we later hooked up. But I think you mixed Sheryl Crow. You've mixed a ton of artists: Roger Waters, Rihanna, Pumpkins.
Yeah, big list.
Oh, huge list. Do you have any
Rage Against the Machine?
Yeah, that's right. Do you have any favorite genres, or you just kind of go in it like, I can deal with whatever?
I mean, when I'm listening to music for myself for no work related activities, I listen to rock. Heavy rock is like my thing, right?
Right.
Like that's what got us into music in the first place. Like my dad had a cool record collection, and like as 8, 9, 10-year-olds listen to Led Zeppelin and Bad Company and Humble Pie and Kiss. Like think mid 70s, we're like thumbing through like my pop's cool record collection. And my dad, I remember my dad had like Fisher, I think was the brand, big Fisher, like 12s, a mid and a horn, like, beefy sound system with like, 100-watt receiver, and like you could move some air with this.
And
little
they were
speaker
nice
system they had.
furniture. They were good looking. I remember.
Yeah, and they were
The
they were
cloth.
great looking pieces of like oak furniture or whatever.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like rock is pretty much my standard go-to thing. Although I enjoy like all genres of music. Like I'm a fan of just music in general, and like the art and the what it takes to make music and to make good music, and because I've mixed all kinds of really good genres of music, I can appreciate them all really well.
Yeah, I'm sure. And you see the players. I mean, you know what's going on. If this is the real deal.
Yeah, I'm deep, so
yeah. I think it's incredible. I was looking at when you did the just one question thing. I would ask you what was the most dangerous venue you ever worked in, and it just cracked me up. I was looking at it today.
Yeah, it's the Met.
The Met. I was expecting like salt mines in Croatia or and you've done some kind of crazy things, but when you said the Metropolitan Museum of Art, I thought perfect.
I mean, you have no idea the pressure that day of like the curators of like the Egyptian collection standing over you going, "Don't you dare screw this up for us." Meanwhile, Rihanna's manager, Jay Brown, amazing human being, he wants his artist represented, right? And he's standing there going, you ain't gonna break that stuff. Don't worry about that. Like, don't worry about it. Why?
But I am worried.
Because look at the sweat dripping off these museum curators right now. Like these guys are freaked out, and so it's hard
anything
to
that's kind of subwoofery.
Yeah, they
shaking.
were really and I shit you not, Greg. The stage was like 90 degrees adjacent to like the Egyptian room, with like
Of course it was.
relics from 3000 BC or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like irreplaceable, priceless things, and they're freaked out that I'm gonna break them all.
I just loved it, and to people that watch this, Sully had mixed Rihanna at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City, and that was your most dangerous venue, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
I would say.
Everybody's in tuxedos. It's the most dangerous thing.
Right. Anything else I could handle. A jungle show, no problem. But this thing, man. Let me ask you this, Sully. What do you see? You probably get asked this a lot. Do you see any evolution or big changes in touring these days, specifically with sound, but not exclusively? Just anything you see? It seemed like immersive was kind of happening, or that sort of thing.
That's been like the latest thing. Digital consoles were kind of like the big thing when that hit, but that's been 20 years now, so it's not, it's pretty much the standard. There are guys still mixing on analog consoles for sure, but they're pretty rare. But no, I mean, concert audio is the worst part about it is, you're dealing with physics, right? And trying to shoot sound through air is never going to change, right? Like, unless we move to Mars where the atmosphere is different, like pushing sound through air is what it is.
Yeah.
And speaker devices and I've messed with vendors before about pushing the envelope. Like, why do we just keep making the same line arrays? Like, do you know what an LRAD is? A long range acoustic device that the military used to like disperse crowds. Have you ever experienced those things?
No. Tell me. Talk about it.
It's like an array of high frequency drivers. Like the first time I experienced it was at NAMM, and before the military bought into it, this guy was at NAMM trying to sell this technology, and he had birds chirping playing out of this little speaker array, and you could stand with your ear next to it at 80 dB, and you could walk down the corridor at NAMM as far as you could get away from it, and it stayed 80 dB the whole time.
Wow.
It was really
what
impressive.
Happened is he still around?
Well, the military bought it.
Oh,
up,
that's
right.
Said,
so
yeah.
it became weaponry. Is what they turned it into a weapon. Is what they did.
Right.
And I don't know if the technology is limited because of that. Like they don't want people have access to it because they can make weapons out of it. But in my mind, it would be a perfect high frequency device for a concert PA because you could shoot high frequency as far as you can see. Like wherever you want it to go, it goes. And I don't. These things, the way they work, it's like an antenna array of high frequency devices, and somehow they make it go really far. Like they defy physics with it.
Yeah.
And I've messed with like when Claire Brothers was, gearing up to design Cohesion PA, the Co 12 series, Co 10 series. They brought a bunch of us, touring engineers in to ask us what we liked about PAs and what size drivers we liked and that kind of thing. And I brought it up. I was like, are you guys just going to make another line array? Because let's push it farther than that. Like, why not do something that no one else has done and do it and do that well and blow everybody out of the water? And I brought up the LRAD thing at the time, and it must be licensed by the military and no one can touch it, because I don't know why we wouldn't find a way to incorporate it into concert audio.
Yeah, acoustic.
So that being said, like, concert audio is pretty stagnant as far as that's concerned. Like, think about the cone driver, Greg. It's like it hasn't changed since they invented the thing. Now, of course, glue temperatures have gone up and voice coil diameters are bigger and magnets are stronger, efficiency, blah, blah, blah. But the cone piston device that moves air is the same it's ever been, right? Nothing's changed. And because of what we're doing, energizing air molecules with pistonic movements, that I don't think there's anything that'll be what it is until anti-gravity speakers come into play or something. It's going to have to be really out there to take over and do what we currently do it with, so I don't think and mixing console technology, sure, like AI will probably get involved eventually, to like mainstream, where you plug a kick drum in, you hit the learn button, and it labels it kick because it knows it's a kick from the frequency content and and it EQs it, and you go, okay, that's a good starting point, and you shape it whatever. Or you're not even involved anymore, and the desk just does it all based on a couple pair of microphones in the room, But I don't see that happening next week. That's for sure. Like, I can't say that won't ever happen, because it probably will. But no, we're pretty stagnant.
I think you're right.
In general,
I think you're right. And in some
changes.
ways, out of necessity. I mean, you got 10,000 people. You're dealing with that. It's got to be. You're not going to throw a whole bunch of brand new stuff. They don't require it. The listening audience.
Well, and guys like me are hard to convince. Something that's not proven is something we should try, right?
Because you're in front of those 10,000 people.
And I'm expected to perform just like the guy on stage playing the guitar is.
Yep.
I gotta do my job so that the crowd get the show the way they should get it, And so I'm not willing to stick my neck out on some technology unless I go to a demo that's just like mind blowing, where you're like, oh my God, So I'm not saying I wouldn't step out, but nothing has given us, me and guys that do what I do, nothing's giving us the presentation that would make us go, cool, that's next.
Yeah. And I suppose upstream, the Claires and the Eighth Day, they would give you an indication of, hey, we're starting to embrace this technology. You'd have a little bit of that going on.
Yeah, I mean, cardioid PAs have really gotten popular in the last couple of years, and that's been like the biggest change for us recently. But I don't even bring that up, because for me, it's been, cardioid subwoofers have existed for since 2006, or 4 when D&B first started putting them out.
Right.
So that's not really new, but full range line arrays being cardioid is 2016, 2017. So we're talking 10 years now.
That's right.
And it's not even fully adopted into the industry yet.
Right.
So we're very slow to absorb technology.
Yeah, absolutely. And I come at it primarily from working for manufacturers. So I've seen this, with Meyer Sound, when I was there, when they were pushing the powered boxes, that was a push. People didn't,
right.
It was very polarized. People either loved it or hated the concept, and there was no middle ground, when we first brought out.
I think it's the only way it should go. The problem is, like, Roger Waters, we could have never used a powered line array on that tour because the show was so heavy. We had to have the lightest stuff we possibly could to keep from tearing roofs down. And these buildings were at limit with that show.
Yeah. So you had to have amp racks.
There was no way. Yeah. There was no way we were using a box that was powered on that tour.
I never even would have thought of that. Yeah. That was that huge screen.
Over 200,000 pounds.
That was that huge
screen. The lighting rig was incorporated into it. Everybody's cabling. Think of how much copper cable weighs, when you got hundreds of feet of copper cable runs. Like you ever pick up a L2130 power cord that's 100 foot long? The thing weighs 150 pounds, you know?
Yeah.
So imagine if hundreds of those in a ceiling, the show gets really heavy.
And you get down to that if we can't have powered boxes. That's really interesting. You don't
And there
you
was
don't always
buildings we
consider
could
that.
not play. Yeah, there was venues we could not play on that tour because the show was too heavy.
And they had no means or desire to sort of have
There was one show in Italy, I think it was in Milan, where they ground supported the roof. They put up like, trussing from the ground to like brace the roof from being pulled down by our show.
man.
But then you got this big, massive visual screen with all Rogers content on it, and it's got all this trussing in front of it. So, they tend to not want to do shows like that because then you take away from the visual aspect of it. So we only did that once.
Yeah.
But yeah, you got to consider the weight of this stuff, and it's a big deal to. I think powered boxes are amazing. No speaker cable, dampening factors, everything's greater, higher, better, but heavier. So you have to factor that into what you're doing with it.
The last thing I want to ask you, and this is something I've been asking everybody because I'm just personally interested in it. So, what are your thoughts? Because you deal with a lot of artists, but of artists that are so old, I want to say this in a graceful way. I mean, they don't know when to hang it up, and I'm not trying to be shitty about it, but you know what I mean. Where a lot of these great artists are in their late 70s, and they're still out there doing it, some better than others, perhaps. Do you have any feelings on that?
Roger's one of the oldest artists I've ever worked for.
Well, I was
but if you
thinking
ask
him,
me,
yeah.
he's still out crushing it.
He
You know what I mean?
produces.
Like he's still doing a good job. He's still putting on a good show. I saw AC/DC recently, and they were not at their best. They didn't suck. It wasn't a bad show. It was still good.
Mm-hmm.
But they're probably at the point where they should be considering, like, are we too old for this now? Like, this is tough to run around. And, Roger's not really the kind of run around kind of artist. He stands on a stand and plays guitar. If he does have a wireless, he's walking slow. He's not like racing.
Yeah.
Angus is trying to run back and forth across stadium stages,
Yeah, I've
like,
seen him.
He's giving himself a tough job to do because of his persona. His whole career has been that, right?
Yeah.
Not saying that they can't play or they aren't any good anymore, because they are.
Of course not. And I'm not
show
trying
that they've always put on. Yeah. And the show that they put on, it just hasn't changed into who they are currently as, senior men doing it. I think it would be better to try to like morph your show into doing what you're capable of now, because you can still perform, but can you run around anymore? Like maybe maybe you can, or you think you can, but you shouldn't,
like any
and they're
old
still
person.
great entertainers. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to pick them out. But that's the one I saw most recently where I thought, man, these guys are looking pretty tired.
Yeah, and a lot of it to me is, I think Angus is kind of an exception, but are the singers. Can they still get that? People expect that note, and they don't want to lower the key or whatever.
Would you accept Playback then, and them just out there miming to it, faking it? Is that acceptable? Because think about it. We have young pop artists that do that.
Yeah.
That never really could sing, and it's completely acceptable, isn't it?
I guess.
So would it be okay for Roger Daltrey to fake it and still go do shows and put one of his latest, like, let's say they don't take the album and play that back, but let's say they take a recording from his last good year that he still sounded good on tour and was still hitting those notes. Is that acceptable? You know what I mean? Are we cool with that?
I don't know. Yeah. No, you raise a good question. Yeah. And a lot of it falls to the artist. Where are they at? What I like about Daltrey is he kind of says, I may or may not hit this note. You kind of have that, and everyone's sort of on his side. Other ones I see that it's just, man,
It's really tough when people are still paying to come see, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
Should you stop just because you should, when people still want to come see you and you're still, I won't call it a cash cow, because they're out there, doing their art and performing and, giving the people what they're paying for. Mm-hmm. To an extent, it's not 100% of 1980, right? It's,
or 1960.
But I don't know if people are still willing to pay for it. I don't have a problem with still going to do it. Like, go ahead. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if the reviewers want to rip you to pieces, like, who cares? You know, like
Right.
people are still coming. Like that AC/DC show I saw, the crowd still loved it. It
They
was
went
still
crazy,
great.
of
I
course.
still loved it. I still enjoyed it. It sounded good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, everything about it was still good. It looked good.
The drums
You
are
could just
there,
tell
the pounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian is, you know, definitely not hitting all the notes,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but so what, right? People are still coming. People are still enjoying it. I still enjoyed it. So I don't really have a problem with it.
That's a
and
good point.
if I'm the front of house guy on it, it makes it a little more challenging. It's tougher. I don't care for that. I'd much rather be with a healthy young artist that can really still cut it. But, you know, if people are still paying for it, then who cares, I guess, is really my mentality towards it.
I think it's a great response. It's a great response. It's been kind of an interesting subject to talk about with, you know, guys like you. And there's no right or wrong, and I'm not passing judgment at all. It's just, well, I got you here.
I mean, think about the pop stars that do it and they're 22 years old, you know, that fake it and have track vocals
that
or
makes
whatever,
me
you know,
angry.
and like,
Yeah.
it's, you know, like if my favorite rock and roll singer from the 70s is still out there crushing it and he used tracks, I wouldn't be mad at him, you know, like as long as it wasn't like album versions that were pristine and perfect. Like take your last good tour recordings and play that back and then so be it. Like that's whatever, right? Yeah, I mean, I've worked for artists that a portion of the show is they can't do anymore, and they sing as much of as they can, and then that one song, or it may just be a like you said, that one note that you're waiting for Roger Daltrey to hit, right? Like, what if it's just that note that's in the can, you know? Then cool.
Yeah.
He gave us everything he could, and what he couldn't was from him 2 years ago or 5 years ago.
He still
whatever.
provided
So
it.
I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's still him, right?
Yeah.
Like you think about artists that are completely studio artists, right? They're auto-tuned and they're made way better than they ever were. They're pretty cute dancers, right? That have been turned into pop stars. Like that I have a bigger problem with. And I don't have a problem with it as far as like I'll go work for any of those artists and do my best job I can and I don't have a problem. But I mean artistically and monetarily I have a bigger problem with it because you're being sold something that really isn't what it is, where if it's Roger Waters or it's Brian Johnson or if it's somebody else that's like struggling to get through it and the box has one note for them, then so be it. I don't have any problem with that. I probably shouldn't even talk about this bit, but it's a shame though that record labels prefer the pop star versus the AC/DC, you know, the Pink Floyd, because those guys want to make all the money. They wrote everything. They want the publishing that's theirs, and you can't really abuse those people, where the pop stars you can abuse financially. And that's a shame for our industry.
I agree.
For music in general, not live sound concerts or whatever, but music in general. That's a shame that's we're pushed that stuff because it's more profitable.
Yeah, it is a shame. It is. Well, we grew up in a good time. That's kind of how I look at things. Musically, it was happening.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think music will ever be as good as it was when we were growing up, you know?
I agree. But that's okay. And I go a lot by folks like you. You know, if you're out working with some young artist, I'll pay attention because I know you care about every artist the same way, you know, when you're there. So that shows a lot of respect on your part to the industry and to the artist. So I think that's pretty cool. And I'll always take a listen if I know you're out with some pop star that I've never heard of. Oh, Sully's doing that? Okay, I'll have a listen.
And thanks. I appreciate that. You know, I don't care who you are. If you hire me to do your sound, you're getting everything that I bring to the table. And that's
what makes you great.
So I'm studying your music and I'm becoming a fan. And, you know, when I worked for Rihanna, when I first got that gig, I didn't know much about her, but I went and became a fan.
Yeah.
And I studied and I learned everything to know about her. You know, one thing she said to me about the guy who was leaving, the guy that I replaced, she said, I just don't think he gets my music. And I will never have that happen to me. Like, I'm always going to get your vibe and what you are musically, because I got to bring that to the people. I got to help you present that to the people. And
you got to bring it to the people. You're the translator in a way. You're the guy out there telling all these people, this is great.
I think it's very egotistical to think that I got this. I'm a good sound guy. I could come in here and not listen and not study and just make it sound right. Like that's very egotistical and
arrogant. Yeah.
you may have it sound good, but are you hitting every mark? Are you hitting all this, there's maybe a little melodic line that you don't have at the level it should be. And like by studying, I feel that really makes that part of it easy to do. There's no question that I'm doing it the way it should be done because I studied it and I became a fan. Think of how long fans listen to records, like we did as kids. You just kill yourself with them. Listen to them over and over and over again.
They know every nuance.
Every single thing there is.
Yep. I agree.
And so for me as a mixer, I'm gonna become that and learn that and know the stuff like they know it because I don't want to miss something that they are expecting. Like you said, that one note.
Yeah.
That breath. Here comes the big part.
A breath sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Here comes that big part. And meanwhile, I'm egotistical and didn't study and missed it.
Yeah.
And it comes and goes throughout the night, but they go home and they go, that was cool.
Yeah.
Instead of going, hell yeah, that was amazing.
That was amazing.
And I hope it's not me that they attribute to it. They just go home with the mentality that show kicked ass.
Nah, they're thinking of the artist. We went to Rihanna. It was unbelievable, and that's how it should be. My friend, I'm going to let you go. You got things to do. You got to pack. You got to go listen to Jerry Cantrell
I got groceries
songs.
to put away.
Yeah. Got frozen foods. I'm afraid to see what that's all about. I can't thank you enough for doing this.
No,
it's
man,
so
awesome.
cool.
This is great. Love doing these.
Keep in touch, okay?
Yeah, man. Have a good day.
You too. Take care.